Hello, and thank you for watching. This is Jackson Bleachers with college football best bets for week 12. We only have 2 more weeks left in the college football regular season, and week 11 is always a little bit of a disappointing slate, at least in the SEC. The only 3 SEC games featuring 2 SEC teams this week is Arkansas at Mississippi State, Missouri at Tennessee, and Ole Miss at Vanderbilt. The rest of the SEC is having their homecoming cupcake games this weekend. We had a good week 10, but it could have been better if we would have pulled the trigger on MTSU minus 13.5 at UTEP. I almost did, but I didn't know if I could trust MTSU to win by 2 full touchdowns in El Paso, but they did. Even though we didn't do that, we still went 3-0 last week. So on the season, we're 24-13-2. Ohio State minus 4.5 at Michigan State, Washington State minus 5 at Colorado, and California plus 5.5 at USC, all cashed. And that brings us into week 11, riding pretty high. And despite the weak SEC schedule this week, there's still some compelling games this Saturday, especially for picking against the spread. So here are my best bets for this weekend. First game is Northwestern plus 1 at Minnesota. I'm not a huge Northwestern believer, but I am a big believer in Minnesota being terrible. The Gophers are 5-5, but 3 of those 5 wins came against New Mexico State, Fresno State, and Miami, Ohio. Minnesota did throttle Purdue last week at home, but they got hammered by Illinois the week before that, and that score was like 55-31. Illinois is one of the worst teams in all FCS, and to get worn out by them should be enough to have your program ended. And Northwestern has already won the Big Ten West, but are the Wildcats really that good? Sitting at 7-3, Pat's Fitzgerald teams honestly has more to brag about with their close losses than with any of their impressive wins. And that sounds crazy, but Northwestern only lost to Michigan by 3 and also hung in with Notre Dame and South Bend. So look at their wins and tell me which one you'd highlight on the resume. Maybe Iowa, but I mean, really, if Iowa's your biggest win, come on now. I think this will end up being a good game, but I do think Northwestern ends up winning it outright. I would have set the line at Northwestern minus 3.5, so getting the Wildcats as an underdog is a steal. Again, I don't have a ton of confidence in Northwestern, but I do know that Minnesota sucks. Take Northwestern plus 1. Second game is Syracuse plus 10 versus Notre Dame at Yankee Stadium. Syracuse has been a really fun team all season, and they showed the world just how dangerous they can be when they gave Clemson all they wanted in Death Valley. Dino Babers was awesome at Bowling Green, and he's been awesome at Syracuse too. Eric Dungey is one of the better college quarterbacks that not many people have heard of, and the Orange always find a way to make every game interesting. Syracuse is 8-2, with their only 2 losses coming at Clemson and in overtime against Pitt. The Orange will give up some points, but they'll also light up the scoreboard. Notre Dame's offense will have a field day, but the Irish defense will have a very long afternoon. Notre Dame is the 3rd-ranked team in the country and has everything to play for. But I don't think the Irish are actually the 3rd-best team in the land, but they do have the benefit of a cakewalk schedule. Their toughest game by far was on opening night when Michigan came to South Bend, but since then the schedule's been a joke. Syracuse is usually a joke, but this year they're legit. I think Notre Dame will win a very close game, but I don't think they're 10 points better than the Orange. Syracuse plus 10 should cash easy. And then, like the last couple of weeks, I've locked in 2 games, and I'm still watching the line on a couple of other games. I think Tennessee beats Missouri outright this Saturday at Neyland Stadium, but as a Tennessee fan, I 100% refuse to ever bet on a Tennessee game. But if I ever was, it would be Tennessee plus 6 this Saturday at home against Mizzou. The other 2 games I'm watching, I really want to take Washington State minus 9.5 versus Arizona, and I probably will as long as it stays under 10. But the only reason I haven't done it yet is because Arizona's looked much better recently, and Kevin Sumlin's had 2 full weeks to prepare for the Cougs. Still, I think Mike Leach, Gardner Minshew, and the rest of the Wazoo offense will be enough to pull it out under the lights in Pullman. And I think not only will they pull it out, I do think they'll win by about 13, which would cover the 9.5. The last game I'm looking at is Pitt minus 7 at Wake Forest. Wake has been terrible all year, but they started to look like an actual football team last week. The Panthers have been playing well, but I'm just not sure I can trust them. I'm going to watch and see where this goes. With it as a full touchdown, I may wait, or I'm definitely going to wait. I may hold off on it. It'll just depend. I'll make a decision before kickoff. I think that's an 11 a.m. kick on Saturday. That, as always, follow Jackson Bleachers on Twitter for any updates between now and Saturday, and I'll put the link in the description of this video. Just to run through that real quick to recap, I have the two I've locked in are Northwestern +1 at Minnesota and Syracuse +10 versus Notre Dame, and that game's at Yankee Stadium. The other two that I'm watching are Pitt -7 at Wake Forest and Washington -9.5 versus Arizona. And I completely refuse to bet on Tennessee, but if I ever would bet on Tennessee, it would be the Vols +6 at home this Saturday afternoon against Missouri. But thank you for watching. Good luck this week, and let's hope to keep this hot streak continuing.